How you feeling?
Damn dogs. I don't know why I love them so much. They're a pain in the ass. I don't know. It just seems like I don't know if I'll be here to do it again. I don't know. A person only has so many footsteps in their life, right? So.
The sun is of no constellation when guiding stars have lost their light. My heart has poured its foundation atop a Himalayan height.
I grew up as a farm kid in central Minnesota. I spent most of my youth with my ass planted to a Ford tailgate and sold sweet corn. After high school, the counselor at the high school said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And here's a list of 600 things you can be. And I paged through that thing and I couldn't find a single occupation that I was even remotely interested in. And so I dropped that whole idea of going to college to be, a doctor or what have you, and I just beat cheeks up to Alaska and started commercial fishing. And ended up staying 3 years and got completely hooked on the Arctic. But then in 1986, I had to leave there because you couldn't buy a job in Alaska, and I ended up going back home to Minnesota and work construction, where then I ran into a guy named Will Steger.
We'll talk about a real adventurer. In 1986, Minnesota native Will Steger made the first confirmed, unsupported dog sled journey to the North Pole.
It's curiosity that draws me. It's the curiosity of learning, but not learning academically. Ever since a little kid, I knew I was destined. I wanted to live in the wilderness. For me, dogs were the avenue of going into this inaccessible land I couldn't even visualize. I could get maps, but I had no idea what it looked like. It was so harsh, so brutal, but it was almost like the planet Mars, but there was something about that caught me about the land that I kept coming back. There's a connection to the wilderness and nature that's important, and that's where, that's where I want to be if I can.
I found it interesting. I figured, well, if this guy in Minnesota can do this and launch these huge projects, I can. Maybe I could go be an explorer. These rocks.
It's privileged by influence. Lonnie influenced me. First of all, we're doers, we figure things out, but our expeditions are more than just our personal experience. It's a very important thing for both of us to develop our minds.
What really sparked my interest in Greenland is that of all the Inuit people in the world, these people in Northwest Greenland are the northernmost people in the world. And so, of course, as a little kid, I wondered, how far does north go? These are the northernmost people. Oh my! They must know above all what it's like to live so far up in the Arctic. And then I went on to learn that they are also held onto their traditions. Running dogs, hunting seals, still have their language. So I thought, well, let me get a good feel what Greenland is, and we decided to come up with this circumnavigation, which ended up taking 5.5 years of my life. but it was worth it. Another lead into my love for Greenland is the Inuit dogs. My love of these furry characters, which is really, to me, the epitome of wild and adventure. When you see these Inuit dogs, part wolf, they're part domesticated, they're part wild, really difficult to control, but they really represented the Arctic because they were not only companions to the Inuit culture and allowed them to survive, but they were also companions to explorers.
It was through the dogs that I've experienced the real wilderness. You know, I've spent thousands of nights and still solo, 60 days in really difficult situations where you really have to be in the moment. And but it's getting to know the land. I sort of met the culture through the land because I did go north to directly learn about the culture, but instead I became more intuitively aware of the land, and again, it just happened to be the culture lived on the land, and it was then through that relation with the traditional people that I've met, I had something that wasn't verbal that I connected directly with.
Greenland was such a big project. I mean, it took us 5.5 years to get around this island, and we spent a lot of time with the people in the Kayak district.
That enclave of culture is not only special, but it's the last and it's still functional.
We have the privilege of using dogs and exploring and looking at lands that we haven't been to before, or going to the North Pole, or circumnavigating Greenland. That definitely is the privilege, right? But whereas the Inuit, when they're using their dogs, they're using it to find food. So there's a difference. They're nomadic people looking for food and shelter. Yeah, and now we're going back for the first time. In 2 months, we'll be back. 2 months from now, we'll be back in Greenland. I'm excited, but also it's been 20 years, so I don't know what I'm going to find. A lot of people ask me why I'm going back, what's our objective and all that. Here is different than past objectives, like going to the North Pole. Yes, we're trying to get to the North Pole, or to get to the top of Denali, or cross the Northwest Passage. This is the one place where I like to come and just immerse myself in the life of these people. I needed to get behind a dog team again and run these dogs. In the community, I started looking at all the teams, ran into Paulus, the Simagok. He showed me his dogs. I knew they would be good dogs. Feeding them every day and interacting with them, you develop this bond between you and the dogs. And so this is really important because some of the dogs were real cuddly and let's be friends, where there's some dogs that would bite you or not even come near. And so we spent extra amount of time sitting with those dogs and kind of coaxing them over with a little piece of meat or something like that, and then just petting them a little bit. Finally, they came around, and they're as friendly and non-biting as the rest of them. When I took out the dogs for the very first time, it was like I had these question marks, not just for the dogs, but for myself. Like, can I do this again? Am I capable of doing this again? I realized that within about a half an hour that, okay, I can do this again. And it's like It's almost like I left right off from where I left off 20 years ago. Every day gets better. Every day gets a little better. They're a little more confident. I'm a little more confident. And then pretty soon, okay, we have a good team now, and we can go see some stuff, and we can go do some hunting, and we can do some long journeys. And I have complete trust in the dogs, and I think they do with me too.
In order to get into these remote areas, it takes a lot of skill. The key to being safe is being in the moment. It's a cliche, but when you're traveling, especially on the ice like that, you have to be in the moment all the time. In that situation, you're moving at little increments at a time. You're not out here, and you're not making this move. You're just, as long as you're moving slowly in the head, then you can see what to do and not do. And your vision comes to you, your life, and it's not a thought process. It's in you. You don't like to take with it. It's in with you from there on.
It's not at a terrific pace with dogs. You'll get your soul there at the same time as you get there, that's for sure. So what's so special about driving a dog sled? The special thing is that if you're the first one in that area and you want to go exactly there and there's no track laid out, you must know how to drive it. And if you want to go there, you must have a purpose to go there. You kick off that heavy burden of civilization and all those ideas that you have to try and cope with and all that daily stress and stuff. It will stress you on the dog sled for the first few hours, but then eventually you tune in and you hear, wow, that's a whole new sensation in life for people. It's like, why should that deep feeling inside of us have changed? I don't think it has, but it has vanished from so many people who are not in contact with the fact that they're actually also out of nature, and they are no longer in contact with themselves or with nature. And that's the deplorable fate of this globe, of course. But those who are will have these very precious moments up there, or lives, days, or glimpses of paradise lost, so to speak. And you could say, home sweet dog sled, because you're right where you're supposed to be. If you've got your dog sled, your stuff with you, and you're there.
It's the joy that most people don't know. It's just living in now instead of living inside of computer or inside of TV. Being there, touch it, feel it. That's one of the most amazing things in the world. Just to be there.
I don't think I could be happier exploring than off the back of a Kayak with a team of dogs.
Being in the moment like that, in that place, is where you connect with Native people. The cultures that I have experienced in the North are based a lot on respect and humility. It's not humility like, oh, it's on my sleeve, I'm a nice guy, do this, or oh, I'm so gratitude for this. I mean, when you're putting that in words, it's a contradiction. But you're actually, your gratitude, your honor, this whole trust, this whole thing is a state of being. But you have to have the state of respect and so forth in order to survive. Traveling that way, I have connected with the Native culture because that's what the Native culture is, and that type of You know, we seek that in climbing, we do that, which is really good. Anything odyssey, anything where you get out in a wilderness, but it's, you know, it's always been that way. The native people in the north don't go out to the wilderness, they're the wilderness.
There's a little core of people up there who were brought up in this tradition and who cannot wash it off, who cannot let it go, who will, even though they have educations, they will return to the dog sled. They will need to feel not free from, but free to go out there.
Our culture is very strong one. We take care of together, help together. My mom was very close to the dogs. Maybe that's why I'm very close to the dog too. But in family always been dogs, because in this Arctic area, in the dark or light, you can not live without the dogs.
Without the dogs, our people won't be able to be here. They help our people on journeys, on the huntings, even trips that is impossible to others.
When there is ice in the dark time, if you want to move somewhere, you don't know how dangerous can be. Dog can always bring you to safe area. I mean, protecting you for the other animals if there is something.
Our dogs are very tough. It would be very, very hard to survive without dogs around here.
There's only one genetic change from wolf to Greenland sled dog, and that is that it's its social gene that has changed. And then it has changed due to the work that they are put to. But it has the same extreme stamina as a wolf has. So it's just extreme what that dog can do. And it's also able to transform its fat into water, you know, in that situation. Otherwise, it doesn't need fluid water. It just sort of shovels up with a mouthful of snow from the ice, running. So it's an extreme strength and adaptation it's come into. And then, since for whatever reason it has been befriended or has befriended by man, the bonding is so strong. Most mushers in Greenland today treat their dogs very well because their success is simply depending on live dogs and dogs that want to be with them.
The relationship with the dogs, with the hunter, is their own.
They do have a word for hunter now. They didn't originally. Originally, a hunter was a man, Inuit, man. There was no need for a more specific designation because there were no other traits to go into. You were a man and you would hunt to have your family survive. So it was only with the shopkeepers and the clerks coming in and all the gas pumpers and what have we, that they needed to have a title for their way of life. So they invented an Inuit word for that. And they constructed it out of three little bits. Pi, which is something. Niak, that is to have to. And dok, one that has to do something. Right. Piniak dok. That's now the word for a hunter.
It's always my dream to be a hunter. It's make me peace inside, and also it keep me proud because I know my ancestor was living like that, but very, very harder than us. Because if they don't find meat, they know they can't live it. I'm looking up to them.
I started just to see how it would be just to follow hunters and just to see. Then I began to spend more time with my uncle and with the other hunters, and I would be following them. As soon as I began to try, they took me to their hunting trips. They would call me and tell me that they would be leaving tomorrow for the hunting. I knew them as my uncles, but I didn't know so much about them. Then I started to learn who they were and what kind of men they were. I started to imagine who I want to be and what kind of a man I want to be. I really look up to them. They don't ask for something. They make you understand. It's not about who works hardest, who works better. It's not about who's the best. It's about helping each other. It was first time that I could be among people that didn't judge. They were just themselves, and they were always relaxed on the hunting. If something suddenly dangerous don't happen, they would work slowly. They would talk. There were no stress about their life. I started thinking about my life from that point. So they made me who I am now, without even telling me who I should be. I began to find myself by listening to who they were and who they used to be. Great hunters that I have spent time with don't brag. I have been this good, I have been doing this and that. I haven't heard them saying that. They don't brag at all. They know who they are. They know what they have been doing in their life.
And we are not just go out hunt to fun. We hunt them because we need them. It's how it is here. You know, if you live in the Arctic area, you cannot just go to the shop, buy your best material. Mostly we use it what we have in the nature or what you can get material from the shop. It's sometimes it not warm enough to the cold nature. They cannot hold you. Therefore, we use what we have. Still, it's still very important for us. We use the skin to clothing, meat with our food, and dogs need it. It's very important anymore. If I don't need more skins, I have enough meat. I will not try it just after the seal to have fun. It's not correct.
If I want to hunt for something. The only thing I need to have is patience. I cannot tell the weather to be perfect like this when I want to go out. I cannot tell the animals to come to me right now. I cannot do anything. Just wait. We cannot tell the nature how to behave. The only thing we have to be is to wait for the nature to give us the opportunity to catch or to hunt. Even if I'm going towards the animal, I need to be patient. If I don't follow maybe the animal's rule or the animal's way, I won't be able to get near it. It's difficult to do that, and but patience always pays off, I think.
It's always my dream to be a hunter. Even my parents always say to me, don't be a hunter, but we're always going to hunting with them, always. It's very, very hard to forget to be a hunter that time because we are always to be with them. I know there are no money to be a hunter, but that is my favorite thing to do it. When I'm going to hunting, also with other hunter, it make me feel proud because I always know I will be a hunter, but also because I knew maybe 1,000 years we have living in North Greenland to be a hunter. My ancestor was hunter. That gave me a pride.
Changing. That word is big one. There is changing with the climate and the people and everywhere, even dog team. I think they will be here even it's many, many years later. Hunting and fishery. It's right now you cannot survive without the money. It's one thing, very important thing right now in the whole world. Even here, change already there. You need the money if you want to do something. You need, always. But the people changing because they have to make more money. Of course, they need more money for the buy bill to the phones and internet and clothing, and even they have to make more money for what they got from the nature, like animals and fish. They need transport them more fast, fishing to the fishing factory, and there is something changing already. And but I think even 100 years from now on, they still be dodging. In this area, we cannot live without the dodging because ice is not safe. If you have mosquitoes outside on the sea ice, you cannot survive. There is no more gasoline, you have to bring a lot of gasoline to the skidoo, or maybe there will be big crack. You cannot climb over the cracks with the skidoo, but dogs can do all the time. Therefore, I think they will be here in area all the time, dog sledging and hunting a fishery. Even there will be not so many, but they will still be there. And I'm sure, so long we have a sea ice, we need the dog team.
Well, this is our last day here, and we fly out tomorrow. I don't think I could have ever wished for a better outcome to this trip, and how impactful coming back here has been for me. Every time I come here, it seems like it changes my life a little, and this time it really did. And I'm gonna miss my dogs. They went to some really good people that are gonna use them for hunting, some young hunters, a young boy that wants to be a hunter. Yeah, I don't think it could have ended better for me in many ways. So I'm really grateful.
You could not return to your own civilization, so to speak, your own country and your own old rules and stuff, and look at it the same way you didn't used to look at it at all, basically, because it's an eye-opener. And first, when you start looking at the life up there, comparing it with your life back here, things start to happen.
What it means to me to travel with dogs is freedom. Yeah. If you know what I mean. But it's freedom with it's a cinematic freedom in this Arctic world that is so immense and so beautiful and so mysterious at the same time, and so harsh yet giving, that it's hard to put it on paper. It's hard to put it in words. And the dogs, they just are your companions, your equal partners in a trip that's life. It's just life. If Greenland was an entity you could speak to, I would want to say, you're going to be okay. But I don't know if I could say that. I just worry about I worry about the ice going. And I worry about, because if the ice goes, you can't dog sled with no ice. You can't travel between those villages in the winter with no ice. It's very hard to do with boat. I mean, Greenland is where ice is born. And that won't be happening anymore. Yeah, but it just changes everything. It's gonna take some major paradigm shifts to turn things around.
We now have to retreat back to a simpler but a much higher quality life and a different way of consciousness. Because the materialistic consciousness of seeking out here for our pleasures is what's destroyed the planet. But the real joy of living and preserving the world really is being recognizing you're part of the world. You have this incredible wisdom inside of you that you don't even know about. And if you can only quiet the chatter out here, it's there. Your insights are there for your taking, and we all have that power. I really think deep down we all seek that. There's an opportunity, and that's what I see in people, because they aspire to traditional knowledge. They aspire to just feel something. It's not a thought process. It's something that it's grace that enters them, and they feel that, and that creates the intention. And so I'm hopeful. Although life as we basically know it is going to change a lot, but it doesn't mean it's the end for us or for the planet. But the traditional knowledge is that's where there's hope. The hope is not of being frantic and everybody's reacting to something, and that's out of control. But the traditional is really, it's the common sense. It's where it's at, what it's about.
I think that you cannot leave there without this dent on your soul, this impact on your the rest of your life. I never spoke with anybody who's just sort of thawed out and come back the same. No. After you've been put on ice, you know what it is.
In my lifetime, I know there will never gone dogs, polar bear trousers, kayak, sled. They will never gone. In my I hope there will always be there will always hunter, because that is one of our identity in my eyes.
Curiosity. Everybody has it. Some people are just afraid to take the step.
When Neil Armstrong went to the moon, it was about seeing life from a different perspective. As a young boy of 8 years old when this happened, seeing the earth from this perspective really shaped my life. It told me how fortunate, how special, what are the odds that we get to be on this little blue marble? What are the odds? And this little blue marble told me that it's a place we need to take care of.
My name is Will Steger, and most people know me as a polar explorer. My expeditions allowed me to witness firsthand how the climate crisis has reshaped the planet. But as important as these expeditions were in my life, and equally as important to me, is I worked most of my life to mentor youth and to give them a voice. Today's youth are vocal. They are a formidable force. They have made it clear they stand for equity and justice, and they are demanding 100% clean energy now. This is their future. We are now on the eve of passing the 100% clean energy bill because the youth has spoken and you have listened. The bill is about their future.
Huck, 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 huck.